Hey guys, welcome in. We are working on the scroll saw today. We're cutting out mortises on these Turkish spindles. So, so this one is Vera wood. Otherwise known as Argentinian ligamente. It's a very heavy wood, a very oily wood. Sometimes it has a lot of green in it. This one does not. It has more yellows in. Hey Dion, how's it going? Welcome back. Yeah. Stuff is pretty though. Yep. So yesterday I cut out a lot of Turkish. So today is going to be just cutting out these mortises. So I'm trying out a different view. I think it's much better for you and much worse for me. So, hey Numbers, how's it going? Welcome in. So there we go. And now we have a piece of zebra wood. Very pretty wood. This particular piece is very hard. When I was cutting it, if I didn't know any better, I would think it was marble wood. So I'm just verifying that the holes are centered. So when you put it together, they line up. Because you do not want one where you have to put the arms in a specific way. You want. So I'm just taking off maybe 1/4 of a millimeter. Maybe a 64th of an inch, maybe less than that. There's just a slight bit of friction. Now it's not there anymore, so we did good. So when you cut the mortises, you have to cut them out. You have to have a little bit of slop in them because right now it is winter and the wood is dry. When summer comes along, depending where you live, if it's humid, things might get stuck. Hey B, how's it going? So here's a mini, and this is the normal mini. So they're a little bit smaller. Not a very productive size. You're not going to get a whole lot on here. Maybe like 70 yards of a cobweb. But they're cute. And people like cute, believe it or not. That's why you'll never see my face on live streams. Hey Al, welcome in. I just need to make it just a little bit taller. So we'll get each individual hole fitted. I'm pretty conservative when I'm cutting these out, so I'd rather go back and do a second pass than cut too much off and have it really sloppy, because then, you know, then it would go in the garbage. So when you're working with, you know, subtractive manufacturing, adding more wood's not really an option for this. There we go. So we just got two more of the little ones, and then we got a ton of gliders. And we're going to swap this blade out right away too. It was on here when I came in this morning, so I'm not sure how much cutting I got on it. So today we're using number 7 Olsen precision ground tooth blades. They're pricey, but they work really well. I use them a lot when I'm working with really hardwoods. So I used to get them from Menards. They're about twice. Oh, thank you so much. Much appreciated, Deep. But if you order them directly from the manufacturer, you can get a better deal on them. Granted, you have to buy them a gross at a time. So a gross is 12 dozen, so 144. So depending on how much you saw, It might be a lifetime supply. Hello, welcome in, Serdar and David. I hope I pronounced that right. David? There we go. These need to be sanded and balanced yet, but yeah. So, very hard zebra wood. So yes, yeah, we have zebra wood. Come on, stop rolling. We got zebra wood, purple heart, Vera wood, which is Argentina ligamente, and some African Paduke. So, hi, M. Smith. Welcome in. So, a lot of very, very hardwood, and then some Paduke, which was a nice distraction. Yeah, sometimes zebra wood is kind of zebra wood and purple heart. Sometimes it's very dense, sometimes it's not. So I think a lot of it has to do where the tree comes from. Hey, Mike. I'm sure, some trees will range from, Mexico down into South America. So so North America, Central America, and down into South America. So the growing seasons will be different. And unfortunately, it's typically the worse the conditions, the prettier the wood. The shorter the growing season, the shorter the summers, it's going to grow slower, so it's going to be stronger. Yeah, that zebra wood is really pretty. So this is Paduke. So this super orange. So after I got done cutting it, I stood up and my pants are just freaking orange. You can actually dye yarn with the shavings from the stuff. And we'll peel off the patterns. So what we use is blue painter's tape. Hello! Incredible Animals, how's it going? Now, I don't have shafts for everything. So if I got a shaft, I'll put it on it. If not, we'll stack them. I need to be making shafts later anyway. So. Now that I've been scrolling since 12. So, yeah. Well, I spend a lot of time sawing. A lot of time. This is my job. So we are making Turkish drop spindles for spinning yarn. And we're cutting out these arms on the scroll saw. So this is what came before spinning wheels. Worst penmanship ever. Sorry. There you go. Let me grab a little bit of coffee. Yep. The arms are all cut out on the scroll saw. So I cut this outer shape out yesterday. And now we're coming back and cutting out all these little mortises. Yep, so when I start out, I'll machine these blanks. So, these are all a 1/2 inch thick. So I'll plane them, sand them down to a 1/2 inch. Then we'll put blue painter's tape on the top and then glue the pattern to the top of it. So we make these vertical lines here that marks the center. And then these aren't, but we'll drill these center holes before we cut them out on the scroll saw. So I drill that center hole and then cut this out. Hey B, how's it going? So, and this piece is leopard wood. Oh, I don't even know how to pronounce this. Is it catalox? This is Mexican ebony. It's not sanded yet. It's very pretty. Kind of curious to see what it looks like once we get some oil on it. Have you ever thought about using a laser to put the pattern on the masking instead of printing on the pattern? I do have some spindles that I do. Don't have any right here. But I do have a spindle that I laser engrave like little animals and stuff on the inside, little decorative things. For those, yeah, I do laser engrave the pattern onto the wood itself. It's faster this way. Yeah, well, we use laser printers. So it's not too cost prohibitive. A lot of times, like the paper, we'll use scratch paper or stuff that has stuff printed on the other side. Yeah, the big cost is the masking tape. The blue painter's tape, they do not give away. I mean, I could use a stencil too. It's just I like having a clean pattern for everyone. Yeah. You know, it just adds another step, you know. The time that you'd be gluing stuff on, you spend on the laser. So the ones that I do that are small. So this is my insert for the laser. So it's like, what, 4 inches or whatever. So you can see the outline of how big it is. Now what we'll do is, this is a jig. So this one isn't, they should be drilled all the way through, but they're not. This one's not. So the holes line up and then I can put it in to register it. This is not a good example. It should go in this way. But then it will sit there, and because of that pin and the way this laser is, it's automatically centered. So when I set it up, I'll set it in there. The first one, I'll run a perimeter to make sure everything's sitting right. And then, yeah, just set one in, burn it. And since I'm putting designs on the top here, I'll do one where I do the whole thing and burn everything, including what I'm going to cut out. And then when I flip it over to do the other side, I just disable the pattern, and then I just do the 2 little animals or whatever on either side. So by doing that, you know, it's always registered to the same place. And that's because it's a galvo printer, a galvo laser. It, you know, and that's just because it has that center hole. If it didn't have that, you could just throw it in. Yeah, that's the nice part about painter's tape. It doesn't leave any residual stickiness. For a lot of years, I would just use spray adhesive directly on the wood. And then when I got done, I would go back and just use some mineral spirits to dissolve it. So I'd get done and spray at the top with mineral spirits. Then you could peel it off in a couple seconds. But I didn't want to be swimming in mineral spirits every day. You can become sensitive to stuff, chemicals, if you use them all the time. So I opted to do it this way. Use spray adhesive to put the printed pattern on the tape, but sometimes the tape lifts from the wood. Yeah, I haven't had a lot of issues with tape lifting. Sometimes the pattern will be an issue, and then I have to yell at the girlfriend to put more spray adhesive onto the paper. But like I said, I switched over to blue painter's tape a long time ago, so the normal color masking tape, sometimes it doesn't have the adhesive. It's not as sticky. Which makes sense because it's just there to block out paint. So you want it to easily peel off when you're done painting. Yeah. Hey, Tim, how's it going? Welcome in. Oh, yeah, it's not cheap. So as far as the spray adhesive we use, I just Super 77 by 3M is my go-to spray adhesive. I've tried a lot of other brands, and I always come back to the Super 77. It's got decent tack to it. And I don't have the peeling issue so much. You know, it's between $10 and $15 a can, depending where you get it from. But it lasts a while. You know, we do these every day, and you know, we're not buying bottles, you know, every couple weeks. You know, and a lot of my decision making is because, you know, this is production work. So I'm making these, you know, all the time. You know, if I was only making a couple, you know, I might, you know, just make a stencil and trace it. All right. As far as this little one goes, this is going to be our last zebra wood. And then we will be going to the rare wood and then purple heart. Yeah, very cost effective if you can getting 1 or 2 K of products made per roll of tape, and you can do, yeah. I mean, if I would sell this, that would pay for, you know, 2 rolls of tape and a can of spray adhesive. So we're making drop spindles. These are Turkish style drop spindles, and they're used to spin yarn with. So this is what came before the spinning wheel. You know, and before I started making these, I would very rarely get exotic woods. You know, I'd be using a lot of just domestic stuff. But, you know, people like the, you know, exotic woods. They don't give away exotic woods. But if people are willing to pay for it, why not? People use these? Absolutely. People still spin yarn. I have been making these full time for 13 years. Oh, not very. So it's we got about a month, and then we have 3 shows back to back to back weekends. So we're kind of trying to build up enough inventory for 3 shows. So we're far from being ready. We're not in too bad a shape. That being said, we are going to be working 6 days a week, maybe 6.5, and that's okay. So, who taught you this craft? Well, I got my first scroll saw. My dad brought one home when I was 12, and that was way back in 1987. We were in the country, didn't have a lot to do. I spent a lot of time on the saw. You know, we'd go to the library and order books about scroll sawing because our public library was so small. Do we have enough room to store it? Yeah, luckily these are small. So yeah, small library, so you know, they had to order in a bunch of stuff. You know, they didn't have, you know, 4 scroll saw books in their library. But yeah, you know, get some patterns off there, make patterns from coloring books. I was in, you know, wood class in high school, and I took wood classes in 4-H. And, you know, having woodworking shops was really huge in the 1970s in America. And it's frizzled out a little bit since then. But, yeah. So I spent my life growing up honing myself to make these, even though I didn't know what they were back then. So, hey, thanks, Em. Yeah. And if you've never cut this wood is like super, super hard. You throw some water and boom, make a good sinker. Hey, John, how's it going? Welcome in. So the next step would be sanding and balancing. So right now this is all waxed except for the bottom. So this will get sanded and waxed, and then this entire thing will be sanded. All the edges will be rounded over, and then it will be balanced. Just like, you know, when you get a new tire, they balance it. If it wasn't balanced, you know, it'd be wobbling all over the place. You tried donating a used girl saw to your high school in 1990 and they didn't have shop class anymore. Yeah, that's scary. Hello, Puerto Rico. Welcome in. Yeah, you know, we need metals, we need shop, we need small engine repair. You know, not everybody's going to go to college. Not everybody is built for that. You know, we need, my school has a school that I went to. You know, I graduated in 93, so my kids already graduated through that, and my kids have kids. But anyway, you know, they had building trades. So if you decided you were going to get into the building trades program, you spent 3 years taking drafting, residential wiring, a whole bunch of different skills. And then senior year, you would go to school a half day, and then the other half of the day, you would go and you would build a house. And then, you know, a lot of the materials were donated, and then they would, you know, sell the house, and then the money made from the house would go back into the program and would just keep repeating. And that is still going on here, which is amazing. They brought it back 2 years later with all new tools. Nice. Yeah, we need that stuff. We need arts too. You know, if I could do it over again, I probably would have got more into welding. Tried to convince Vicky's kid to get into welding because it's a good way to make some cash. And you get to, you know, stick metal pieces together. So occasionally I will make these different sizes as far as the thicknesses go. So that's why I lay out the holes individually, because, you know, from one board to the next it might be a little bit different. Hey Frank, how's it going? So eventually I would like to get this. This is made by a company called Pegasus. Well, it's Pegasus branded. Pegasus makes lots of blades. They do a lot of stuff, but they also have a bandsaw that takes really, really, really fine blades. So you can get like a number 5 scroll saw blade thickness onto a bandsaw. They get away with it because they have bearings that are slotted that will, I think it encompasses the whole blade to hold pressure on it. Did they buy out Excalibur? I'm not sure. You know, they're all made in the same factory in Taiwan. Yeah, I've not been paying attention to that stuff lately. I used to. I still can't believe that Nova filed for bankruptcy. So Technitool. that's why they disappeared from like woodcraft. Oh, yeah. The only difference is the trucks. Sorry. You know, the original Excaliburs, you know, all of a sudden, they worked with DeWalt. So, the old ones were the Excalibur, you know, where the table tilted and they had a big motor in the way back and it was belt driven. When they made the revision to basically what DeWalt is still producing today, the 788 or whatever. So they were basically a clone of that saw. Hello, Christina. Welcome in. I'm not digging that hole. So the Type 1 saws for DeWalt were actually made in Canada, which is where Excalibur came from. So the Type 1 saws are sought after. If you're going to buy a used DeWalt scroll saw, you look for a Type 1 that's going to be 20-some years old. But yeah, so they moved those to China. And so when they were making them in China, Black & Decker owned DeWalt and Black & Decker. No, DeWalt, Black & Decker owned DeWalt and Delta. So the Delta scroll saw shared a lot of similarities with the DeWalt. As far as the parts go, the shape was a little different, but anyway. And then Black & Decker sold Delta to the Chinese company that was making both the Delta and the DeWalt saws. So Delta is a Chinese-owned company now, and they're still making the DeWalt saws. At least the last time I looked, they were. Where I believe Excalibur, Seiko, Pegasus, they're all coming from the same factory in Taiwan. Actually, I think Delta might be made in Taiwan now too. But then over the last couple of years, Chansen out of China started making double parallel arm saws, and that would be the new Bauer from Harbor Freight, the Buck tool saws, King, which was originally a very high-end saw, are being made at that factory as well. Same with Wycon. There are new scroll saws coming out of the same factory. So all of them will be very, very similar. You know, some might have dust collection, some might not. They might have different tables, but as far as the guts go, they're all pretty much the same. I mean, if you would buy this chuck here, you could put it on pretty much any double parallel arm saw. They're all pretty much the same. So I don't know how if a patent ran out or what. But yeah, I could go grab a DeWalt scroll saw or an old Delta scroll saw. Take the front part of the saw apart and come here and throw it on here, and it would work. So the Pegasus heads are a lot smaller than a lot of other ones, and they're made out of anodized aluminum. So they sell a couple different styles depending on what style double parallel arm saw you have. Like the old, well, DeWalt is they have a cheaper scroll saw now too, which is not a double parallel arm saw. All right. But the 788, you would order one that didn't have the lever here because they have a tensioning system in the front. I actually bought this even with the tensioning system, so I would use it for the DeWalt. It had a handle on the top that you would kind of pull back, so I'd use that to get it close, and then I would use this one just because it's faster to go like this rather than click, 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 click to take the pressure off. Yeah, Paducah is pretty. I'll give it that. So I like to glue magnets onto my pencils so I can stick them on tables and they don't slide off. This one I just hopped into Fusion 360 and just designed a little holder to give me some more surface area for the glue. I'm just not an apron wearer. I do have a duck cloth apron that I will wear occasionally on the lathe, depending on what I'm turning. Sometimes some woods have itchier wood chips than others. So yeah, our schedule, we thought we dropped the Madison show. It's not really a high performing show, but we're in Wisconsin, so it's kind of close. But apparently we must have decided that we wanted to do this year, even though we convinced ourselves that we didn't. So we paid for the booth already, so we knew we had 2 shows back to back, and now we have 3. It's okay. And they're all pretty regional, so. So the first weekend it's Madison, the second weekend is Chicago, Illinois, and then the third weekend will be in Minnesota. I'm trying to think, is it? Can't think of the town it's in. It's in a little town. It's in a fairgrounds. So one show's an hour away, the next show's an hour and a half away, 2 hours away, and then the third show is like 5 hours away. So it's not so bad. We also do a couple shows in North Carolina. And we've been doing a show in Texas. We decided not to do it this year, but we might do it next year. And then we're doing one show in California this year as well. I don't even know the date off the top of my head. But that show is just going to be kind of a test. So we're not going to bring all our inventory. You know, these things are small, so you can fill up a couple suitcases or ship a crate to the hotel or to the venue or to somebody we know out there, whatever. You know, and then we're just going to hop on a plane and fly out there. And if it does really well, then the next year we'll do the drive. But, yeah. That's a lot of driving. What do I consider a good price for a booth? All right. So you want to make I want to make 10x what the booth price cost. So if it's $300 a booth, I want to be able to make $3,000. You know, but there's more things that go into play with that also is, you know, is it close to home? What are your expenses going to be? You know, if the crowds are big enough, you know, it might make sense to pay a lot more than that. The girlfriend takes care of most of that, so A lot of times you're talking $300, $400, $500 a booth. That's for a 10 by 10, and we do 2 booths, so you got to double that. Do we ever get tired of making the same thing over and over and over again? Repetitiveness. Well, right now I'm listening to music. I'm talking to you guys. If I was working in a factory, I'd be doing the same thing over and over and over again too. You know, I'm human. Sometimes, yeah, it does. Now, I do a lot of other things besides this. This is just a lot easier to film because it's a static camera. So yeah, since we're in here a lot, and I'm going to check on the 3D printer, so we'll walk over there. So, yeah, I've got a monitor there. And then when I'm on the lathe, I've got a bigger monitor there. So, layout area monitor. Sanding station monitor. Laser engraving area. I got that feed there. Then you come over to the 3D printers, I've got another one there. And a lot of it, so I'm printing out little sheep that I give away. So, yeah, it can get repetitive, it can get boring, but at the end of the day, I like to eat, so. I keep these old printers around to make sheep and little things. I mean, they work just fine. They're just slow. You know, we've gotten much faster over the last few years. So, you get to the faster printers. So, that is half of a nitty notty. Let's not get wood chips all over everything. No sawdust. Then we'll make another one of those. So we are on dragon mode. We got about 40 of these things to make in the next couple weeks. So there they are. So I'm only making one of these a day because they take longer than 8 hours to make. So I'll turn it on in the morning and then come in the next morning and start another one. So these are nitty natties. These are for making hanks, which are kind of like a skein. So the monitor also is hooked up to that TV there. And then Vicky also has a little one there playing as well. Yeah, exactly. You know, if I'm on a live stream, you know, if I'm working, I'm lurking, you know. So a lot of these monitors came from thrift stores. You know, a lot of people got rid of their little on TVs because TVs are so cheap these days. So I did just get a wireless HDMI system, which is actually super sweet because then we can just keep our headphone, you know. So I wear earplugs that are also Bluetooth headsets, and Vicky's got a pair as well. So we'll have our earplugs in, but then we can listen to music or whatever. So when we take a break, if we're watching something or listening to something. Normally, a lot of the times we'll watch series that we've already seen before, so it's just kind of background. You know. It's like we just started watching Supernatural again, so that's going to take us a month or so to get through. So after I lay out my lines, I'm also compensating. You know, if I don't feel they're directly centered, I will cut one side a little bit more than the other side. But at the end of the day, when I put them together, they need to be centered with just a little bit of slop in there. You don't want too much, but you need a little bit. They will expand and contract. So it's winter here, so it's very dry. But, you know, it might get sent to Florida, and it might be very wet. So, just something to keep in mind. Because when you're done using them, you take it apart, and everything slides apart, and then you have a ball of yarn. So this is one that I've been spinning on. This is kind of my example one. So this is all yarn. This is a single. So you'd go back and you apply it to make it thicker. Anyway, so you would slide the arm out and slide the shaft all the way out, and then these arms will come apart, and then you got a center pull ball. So that was wool. That was black-faced meat sheep, which is just the breed. There is a lot of dual-purpose breeds of sheep that produce yarn, produce fiber, but are also inherently delicious. So these meat sheep, even though that's what they're called, it doesn't mean that they're getting their fur cut off and then going to slaughter. It's just the breed of the sheep. So Vera wood has a very interesting grain to it. So but if you look at this, you can see all the feathering in there. It's just a really interesting wood. And it smells weird too, so it's got that going for it. Yeah, so right now, you know, we are in production mode, production. When we're not in production mode, you know, I will get a little bit more time to experiment and try different things and that kind of stuff. So yeah, we've just been so busy that I haven't been able to make the long format videos, which literally hundreds of people will see. I don't know. There's other woodworkers on YouTube that will, consistently poop out a video every week using the same techniques, just different things. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't want to do that. That really doesn't appeal to me. If I'm going to make something, I want it to have something different, some different skills involved. So hey guys, welcome in. If you're just joining us, we are making Turkish drop spindles that are used to spin yarn. This is my day job. Welcome in. My name is Scott. The channel here, Making with Scott, is about a lot of beginner to intermediate scroll saw projects, lathe stuff. I'd like to get more into helping people with 3D printing and laser engraving, but that hole is way off. Okay. This wood is very, very, very hard. And drill bits like to wander in it. So I would like to, I might make a video on this guy here. So on occasion I will make little critters like this. I'm going to be, I do fiber shows, so everything is kind of llama, sheep, that sort of thing. So I'll make little llamas and sheep and stuff. And, they're only a couple bucks each. They're made out of, basically scrap. So this here, I laser engrave the whole top, and then I go back and then I cut it out with the scroll saw, because the lasers I have would not cut through 5/8 inch material. And if it did, it would be charred, and I don't want that. So something like this, yeah, you're using your laser engraver, but you're also using a scroll saw. You're kind of using both. Now online, in Facebook forums and stuff, either you're a scroll saw or you're a person who uses a laser. The scroll saw people hate the laser people, and the laser people could care less. It's pretty much how it works, because if you go to a fair, this is a couple bucks, and it looks a lot nicer than, something that you used a Sharpie marker to put eyeballs on or whatever. But they're there's a lot of different skills involved with both. It's like the same with CNC. Oh, you're not doing anything, you're just watching it run. Well, there's a lot more to it than just that. I don't know, Mike, what do you think about this view? What do you guys think about this view? Normally I shoot from the side, but this is more of what I'm looking at, you know. I can stop bumping it. So as far as festivals go, craft fairs, that sort of thing. So this stuff here is so specialized that if I would just go to a normal craft show, I would not do very well at all. And that's why I do fiber shows. So you get the fiber artists at those shows so they know what they are and they know what they do. Now I want to once I get through these shows, I need to make up a game plan. I would like to build a bunch of just holiday stuff, do videos about making the stuff, and then going to some local fairs to sell it to see how that goes. But we'll see. Things that just got really busy. But after those 3 shows, I think where I'm just doing the websites and wholesale and that kind of stuff. So I'm still working, but it'll give me some time where I can come in on a Saturday and record a video. Where right now I'm here working on stuff. Oh, so this is Purple Heart. So Purple Heart likes burning. I've been known to say it burns if you just look at it. So a lot of times when you cut it, I'm using, a modified geometry blade, a very aggressive blade. I'm turning the speed down when I cut the outside. So it has some wormholes in. So when you machine it, it turns more brown. Once this gets fully sanded, UV itself will make it into a really deep purple color over time. A lot of people like Purple Heart. Obviously they don't work with it. And the funny part is, I'll have Yellow Heart and Red Heart and all these other woods, and people are, oh yeah, Purple Heart. Well, Purple Heart is like one of the cheapest exotic woods you can buy. It's very plentiful. It's just such a pain to work with. So, Purple Heart, you want to really stay away from UV exposure. So it's not something you want to have set on a windowsill. Also, heat will affect the color of it, make it darker. So don't put it on a radiator. You know, you don't have to hide it in a dark closet or anything, but yeah, don't put it in your oven. It will turn almost black over time. So there's a bunch of very, very, very ornate old tables that have very intricate exotic wood designs on it. And you know, there's been so much UV damage over hundreds of years that you just don't get the contrast. You know, rather than being a bright purple stripe, it's going to be a black stripe. So I'm very lucky. I live maybe 45 minutes away from a very nice lumber mill that has a lot of exotic woods. It's near Hartford. It's Kettle Marine Hardwoods. And the nice part is they have like really huge boards, but they also have cutoffs. So you can go in there and rather than buying a $500 piece of wood that, you know, is 8 feet long, you can buy a 2 foot section. I'm kind of the 2 foot section guy. And that's how I can get away with having so many different varieties of exotic woods as well. So I'd use Kettle Marine Hardwoods for a lot. Occasionally there's another mill here in Wisconsin called Okuch. That's a couple hours away. They do a lot of mail order stuff. And they sell it's all dimensional. So if you want a 1/2 inch piece, you go in there, they have 1/2 inch pieces, 3/4 inch pieces, 1/4 inch pieces. Hey Greg. Oh, I'm doing well. It's Friday, I'm in love. Can't really complain. Did not sleep very well at all last night. I was up at like 2 o'clock in the morning cutting out these patterns just because I couldn't sleep. So we had a late start. Yeah, these are actually for festivals. Yeah, we're building inventory for festivals. We got 3 festivals coming up. Got about a month. And then we got 3 back to back. Yep, I finished up on the wholesale orders. Mailed out, I think, the last of them yesterday. So we had somebody contact us yesterday wanting 30 of a specific spindle, and they kind of had a time crunch. And luckily I had everything made, so that was the easiest wholesale order ever. I just had to put them in a box. But now I have to, those are already made for these shows, and I have to remake them, but that's all right. Placed an order with the company that makes my dowels. So hopefully the next week or so that'll come in, and then I can jump back and making more supported spindles. Kind of ran out of material for those. So. You know, I could go to the mill and get some like 8/4 inch wood and cut it down, and that seems like a lot of effort. How often do we go through dowel stock? Quite a bit. It depends on what we're doing. Like all the shafts for these are all hard maple, but I do buy the dowels for them rather than going to the mill and buying square stock and cutting it down, buying wood and cutting it down to square stock. So like the support spindles are 1-inch thick dowels. So it depends how big the order is. I can easily, go through a couple hundred pieces of the stuff for these, in a month. Hey Silva, how's it going? Welcome in. Yeah, so the majority of the ones I'm making now are for those fiber festivals that are coming up. Some of them will go online. So I like to make, about twice as much as I think I can sell. And that's just because I don't know what's going to be popular and what's not going to be popular. One show I might sell one specific spindle a lot. The next show I might not sell any. So I'm going to have more inventory than hopefully I need. And then when we get back from the shows, then we'll have a bunch of stuff already made up. And then what we typically do is we'll put it on the websites and then have like a little sale. The last time you were here, you buy the square because of concentricity when you're making the shafts, or the round stock. It's not straight. It's turning it yourself. Well, a lot of times the doweling will be a little bit off, but I buy it oversized so I can true it up. So it's mainly, it's about time more than anything else. It just takes a lot more time to cut it down into square stock. So yeah, if I'd start with square stock, I would probably have a little bit less waste, but it would also take me a lot longer to do. So, and really, in the scheme of things, you know, I don't throw away that many. And if I do, they go in my fireplace. Excuse me. Yes, it's a big benefit of scrap wood, especially since it's hard maple. Burns nice. That being said, I have a full garbage can over there of scrap wood that I need to take home. We haven't had a fire in a while because, you know, it's only been getting down to the 30s at night. Oh, yeah. The dowels, you know, this kind of lumber is drier than firewood. Firewood tends to have a little bit more moisture content in it. Oh, this shop gets horrible in the summer. This shop does not have air conditioning. So in the summertime, I've got two little rooms behind me, and then there's a door that goes to the outside. So we'll have a screen on the back door. The front, we've got windows in the doors, and then we have a window to the side. That'll all be open, and then we have fans. So it's not bad. Now we do a lot of finishing work in the basement. Yeah, loads of fan and open doors. The basement usually hovers around 70 degrees in the summer. So, hey Abdul, how's it going? I also have a hose down there too, so if it gets really bad, you know, we can hose each other off. Me and the girlfriend. Not you, Greg. Sorry. It's not so bad. I was actually thinking about putting a scroll saw and a drill press down there in the corner. Then we could have, like, you know, scary basement videos. It is damp down there. That's the only thing. Hey, Will, welcome in. So the main big room and the front room are heated. We have a forced air furnace down there. So we have a full size like family home 4-bedroom house furnace down there, and then it pumps up to 3 little vents. So it does, as far as heating goes, we'll turn the heat down to like 55 at night, and then when we come in we'll turn it up to like 65. And the bills haven't been horrible for heating this place, so. But the back rooms are not heated, which is fine a couple months out of the year. But they're basically storage. The first one back is like wood storage, and I've got some racks with like all the corded hand tools and just a bunch of, you know, nuts and bolts and stuff. And then the far back is kind of deep storage. That's where I put that 1950 scroll saw that eventually I'm going to fix up. It was something I didn't need, but they kept marking down the price week after week, and it got down to $20, and it was my birthday. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to spend $20 on myself for my birthday and buy an old scroll saw. And I can't believe my partner went for it. She's not like, you've got, you know, half a dozen scroll saws already. Why do you need another one? Oh yeah, the furnace is not working very hard. And the cold air return is in a really good location. It's in kind of a back corner, and there's like tables and stuff all around it, so it's not. The filters have not been an issue, which is surprising, as much dust as we make. Yes. It's definitely a hobby. I'm that way with old measuring devices. Even like yardsticks and 12-inch rulers if they're old. I think they're pretty cool. You got plans for getting some an essential dust collector. So I rent this building. Are you making Christmas trees? If I was, they don't look very Christmas tree. I guess we stack them up. They're actually drop spindles for spinning yarn. So, you know, Vicky's got a little dust collector for her sanding station. You know, I've got a bigger one on the side. So I don't want to. I was told that I could do whatever I want to, but don't knock any holes in the walls or the floors within reason. So, you know, that's why this is my big one. So, you know, for my planer and my drum sander here, I have this hose here that I just hook up over there. It's not too bad. And since I have a garage door here, I just run it underneath, and then I insulate the crap out of it. Because, yeah, it's not heated back there. So that'll run out here, and that goes straight to my my lathe over there. And my sanding station, I hook that up here. And I haven't gotten around to doing anything with the backup lathe quite yet. Hey Charles, how's it going? And then, the CNC machine, I have the DeWalt Silent Vac. What do they call it? The Stealth Sonic. It's like half the volume of a normal shop vac. And then, yeah. This stuff here, I'll bring over a vacuum cleaner for that. And then the one down here, we can do, to put that into perspective, this little one here, a little bit louder. But that's just for general cleanup. Same with that one. And then Vicky's got an extractor over here as well. So she thinks she's all fancy because it's got its own on and off pendant. Where mine, I have to, wire up a button. So it's worked out rather well. I don't run a vacuum cleaner on the saw just because I don't want to listen to a vacuum cleaner all day. And worst case scenario, things get really bad, we could turn that puppy on. So we do have an exhaust fan that exhausts out the building. So, the basic, big metal vent. Oh, nice. Yeah. I've got splitters. I've got a couple blast gates that I 3D printed that are laying there. Yeah. So, yeah, I was complaining on a stream, months ago, that I just had to order more, another set of remote controls because I always have issues with remotes over time getting all gummed up with dust. And it doesn't matter how often you blow them out, they always get messed up. Somebody's like, why don't you just put it in a plastic bag? So that's what I did. I just put it in a plastic bag and sealed the top. So there's a little bit of air in there. But now I can, turn on my sander. There it is. Or my vacuum in here. Or my vacuum out there. Yeah, it's funny. I would never thought about just putting it in a bag. Yeah, I mean, never would have thought of it. I would have thought of making some complicated case to go around it, and then, put a soft piece of, plastic on the top. Make an otter box for it. We get done cutting this one, we got to go back for an adventure and switch the 3D printer over again. You know, you gotta keep reminding yourself, you know, when you design things, you gotta think of the KISS strategy, right? The keep it simple, stupid strategy. Just because you can make something complicated doesn't mean you should. You know, there's a story where NASA spent, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a pen that'll work in a zero gravity, and then the Russians decided to use pencils, that kind of thing. All right, so we'll pop this off. Here's the complicated part. We got to hit reprint and print. We'll come over here. Got some little black sheep. There's a little bit of stringing in between. I actually bought this roll of filament at Goodwill. The bag was sealed, but possibly not the newest filament in the world. So just hit it with a little torch, and that got rid of all that. So I'll grab these. Hello, how's it going? Welcome in. So this is an old Creality. I didn't watch it live, but I did see clips of it. Pretty fun. It's about damn time. I've always been like, you know, oh, let's go to Mars. Well, we haven't even had people colonize the moon, so yeah, let's send them even farther away to make sure we can't get the bodies back if they die. I don't know. Alrighty. So that'll go through its, yeah, I saw footage, you know, people were on an airplane. If you look out to your left window, you will see the Artemis, you know. Pretty amazing. So for these, they come in pairs, so there's two of them. I want to have enough to do, I want 3 or 4 pairs of each color, so that's what I'm doing now. Today, it's going to be all about yellow. Then I'll do green and red, but yeah. They're nitty-knotties, so you wind yarn around them to make a hank. So it has 2 arms that slide together like this, and then you wrap the yarn around here and down to here and over here and up and down, and you just keep repeating that, and that makes a hank, which is basically a big loop of yarn. Hello, welcome in. Glad you're here. If you have any questions, just let me know. So this is what a hank looks like. So this is just a bunch of loops, and then you tie the loops together to keep them from getting tangled. It could be a weapon. I wouldn't use it for a weapon though. So there's a 2-yard one that's wrapped, so you can kind of see how it works. I mean, anything can be a weapon if you really want it to be. If you're brave enough. So since we're up front, we'll peek out the window. The hustle and bustle of North Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I'm in North Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Well, there you go. And then you would take the hank and then you would put it on a Swift in order to unravel it so then you could turn it into a ball. Yeah, so yeah, I'm in America. So I'm in Wisconsin. America's dairy state. Oops, sorry about that. And I'm not saying that, it's not a very... so I'm in the little one-town block that used to be the downtown. And this little town just does not have a downtown anymore. The main street, we got a public library, 2 bars. There's another woodworker who's next door to me. There used to be a bakery across the street that just closed. Next to that, there used to be a restaurant which closed, and then they put a head shop in there. We don't have legalized marijuana here, but, the whole hemp-derived stuff is legal until next year. But anyways, they couldn't keep enough business to keep it open. So if you can't keep a head shop open, there's something wrong. We used to have a bank and a credit union. Both of those closed. But since I don't sell retail out of the store, by appointment only, so if somebody wants to come in, we could pull things off shelves and play with them. But yeah, since I don't need customers, it's okay. My rent is pretty reasonable because it's a commercial space that's run down and there's no street traffic, and yeah, it's not. I'm sure the nightlife is way different with the 2 bars. I'm sure there's a lot of drunk people walking past here. And the funny part is, when I was young, this used to be a silk screening business. So there's lots of spots on the floor that have like big ink stains on the floor. But there used to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars within a 1 block radius. One of them was more of a supper club. But it's just crazy. And they're all just little hole in the wall bars. They're nothing huge or anything. That is bizarre. I don't get that. to open this one up just a hair more. Hey guys, welcome in. If you got any questions, feel free to ask. We are making some Turkish drop spindles today. Which are used for spinning yarn. I do enjoy spinning yarn. Yes, people spin yarn. So a lot of people will start out on drop spindles rather than buying a spinning wheel. Spinning wheels are expensive. If you want a decent spinning wheel, you're going to be dropping at least $800, if not more. And new people don't really want to buy a used wheel because if you don't know what it's like buying a used car if you don't know anything about cars. It's a simple thing, but it can get quite expensive to get replacement parts made for them. Don't get me wrong, I got a bunch of spinning wheels that I do plan on repairing and getting back into the world. But I would dissuade people if they don't know what they're looking at not to buy a spinning wheel at a garage sale or on Facebook Marketplace. So, yeah, basically across the street, the next block down, it's like a half a block, is a railroad switching place, and they also do repairs. They have a big repair shop. So we'll get some pretty interesting cars and engines in here for repair. So it's owned by CN. It used to be Wisconsin Central. That's why this town is here, because they put in the railroad right there. But yeah, occasionally you'll see some pretty weird looking trains here. And I grew up about, I don't know, a couple miles in the country, and people would come out with cameras to take pictures of specific trains that were driving by. I know that's a big thing in Europe, in England, but I don't know. It's kind of weird seeing people out there. So we got stuck by trains a lot, so we did a lot of sitting there waiting on trains. For a little kid, that was awesome. And we're also south of Oshkosh, where Oshkosh Truck is, and they make a lot of military vehicles. So as a little kid, getting stuck by a train and then getting to watch a whole bunch of Army vehicles drive by, and then there'd be a guy in the caboose waving at you. That was good times. I'm old enough to remember cabooses. That's how old I am. Ooh, it looks like we're back. All right, we are making some progress, which is good because we've been live streaming for 2 hours. Just about done with these. That being said, we're going to have to make shafts for all of this stuff. Or I could drill more holes, because he does have quite a few laid out there. Which I don't know, is drilling holes nearly exciting as working on the lathe? I don't think so. That's the one bad thing about putting the camera there. It's like I have to work underneath it. So you guys are like right on, well, you know, right at my chest level here. So I got a couple more to cut out, but I'll show you the mount for this. So, hey Kay, how's it going? So I got the holder that goes onto these, so I can adjust where they are, and then it goes up and it connects to this pole here. So this pole goes, it sits on a brick base in the basement, so it's like a brick it's like 5 foot tall brick, and then this pipe goes here and it supports the second story. So it's not really part of the floor, so I don't get vibrations off the tool into the camera, so the camera is not vibrating. It works really well. So for my lathe, I have the same setup over there, but that's bolted to the wall. So there has been a little thought put into this. Mainly because, you know, it's an old hardwood floor and it doesn't have a lot of support to it, so it will vibrate a little bit, and I don't want the vibration to be on the camera. So when I film videos, I'll record over in this corner here. Here we go. So I have basically a French cleat, and then I have these 2x4s that stick out that I clamp everything to. That way, with the French cleats, if I want to get rid of that stuff, I can just pick it up and move it out of the way. So yeah, so when I record videos, I tend to use Harbor Freight scroll saw and a Harbor Freight drill press. The whole idea behind that is I don't want people to, you know, watch a video and say, well, I could do that too if I had this saw here that, you know, costs $1,000. Well, no, that's a $280 saw. It's not cheap, but it works, you know. And to make things even crazier, I do have a scroll saw next to my lathe. That I'll use to, this one is at a sitting height and it's pitched. So if you set things on the table, they'll slide off. And then underneath the table, I have a bucket to catch a lot of the wood, the scrap. The other two saws are at standing height. So I do have a big stool that I could sit on, like a bar stool that's higher. So when I trim things down, you know, I'll just walk over to the one that I stand at rather than sitting down every time. So this saw here, I have a magnifier for it. I'm not using it, well, I'm using it as a light right now. Normally, that's why I have the camera on the side, so you can, so I can still use the magnifier. Because I'm getting old. And I have diabetic retinopathy as well, so. I need all the light and magnification I can get. All right. So, should we drill holes or should we make shafts? If we drill holes, we'll end up back on the scroll saw. If we make shafts, we'll end up on the lathe. There's 161 in here. First person to say, that's what we'll do. Because I'm very indecisive. Shafts it is. Shafts it is. Yeah, so I bought this stupid thing. So I got this from Menards. It's a little vacuum cleaner and a blower. It's 18 volts. So the blower and the battery, it was under $20. So I have this blower, I have another blower, and I also have a small drill that are all $20 each. And then I bought another battery pack with 2 extra batteries. Honestly, they work fine. I mean, so this one, you know, is great for like a little vacuum if you're, yeah, it comes with attachments. Like if you're cleaning your keyboard, that kind of stuff, it's fine. And the blower is fine. And then this is also, you know, $20. This one, definitely. I don't know if you can see, but I mean, for $20, I'm not going to complain. The one thing is, it'll run just fine, and then bam, it'll die. It's like there's no, you don't have, it's 100% power or no power. Goofy. So the charger on this is right there. So it just uses a barrel jack to charge, which is fine. And honestly, the little drill, I mean, I normally I have a 20 volt Black & Decker, and the only reason I got that is because it's the same as my weed whacker. So there's some other tools I have that take that battery. But anyways, yeah. I have a little Allen on the top. I use this to screw in bolts into 3D printed things. So it doesn't really need a lot of power. If you're just starting out, really, honestly, these things are not bad. I mean, you could paint them red or yellow, I suppose. I mean, you don't have to spend a ton of money on stuff. If you're doing it as a hobby, I mean, I have a couple batteries here, just the barrel jack. But yeah, very cell phone-ish. For the price, I'm not going to complain about them. All right, we'll come over here. Are you doing a garbage run?
I emptied my garbage. Why? You're going to empty yours?
No.
Where's yours at?
I don't get garbage. I mean, I've got some there, I got some there, I got some there.
Well, I took the bag out because I used the bucket
Right.
for the water the other day, so.
Because the other toolboxes, that'll work. I've got their vacuum cleaner. Yeah, I'm not very brand specific. If you are, that's great. I mean, for a while there, I was really impressed with Raycon, and I was getting a lot of Raycon stuff. And then I had to order parts, and there was confusion, and it was just like they never called me back, and then they had no idea what I was talking about, and it just got to the point where, yeah, I just gave up on them, which is odd because, you know, they're made by the same people who are making, they're made in the same factory as the people who are making the scroll saws I like now, like the Bauer scroll saw. You know, I had to replace a cable, and I ordered a replacement, and it did not match what I actually did not match the original one. It had a different connector on it. So they're like, oh yeah, we'll run this up. We'll have somebody call you back, and that never happened. So, you know, I had to figure out the connectivity for the wires were all different colors and the plugs were different, and yeah, I got it to work, but yeah, very, very bad taste in my mouth. Now, those are out of the UK, right? I could be wrong. So have I heard of them? Yes. Am I familiar with them? No. But I'm thinking they're very, very similar to the higher end stuff here. Yeah, I'm not sure where they're. Hey Nicola, how's it going? Hello, Raphael. I keep wax in here because I'll wax the shafts when I'm done. Sorry, I gotta plug in my phone here, which pretends to be a camera. Actually, I think I'm going to make it 7-inch shafts. And they are international. Well, it's kind of like Technic Tool that owns Nova. I mean, I think they're out of the Netherlands. Or somewhere in Europe, I'm there. They could be Danish. Not sure. Oh, I'm sure they do. I think I've seen their scroll saws, and they're very similar to the Seiko Excalibur, I guess. Yep, so we are turning hard maple. So on TikTok, with the algorithm, for some reason they really think that I should buy a Garvey scroll saw. So it's just a 16-inch old style, just pin and blade saw. You know, the stereotypical saw that was $100 in 1985, which is $100 now in 2025. Yeah. So I looked up all these, what the creators were getting paid. So if you would sell 3 of the saws, the $130 saw or whatever would be yours. You didn't have to pay for it. And then you got a $3 commission on any other saw you sold. I don't know if I could just try to sell something that, you know, it's very beginner and you're going to have to spend a lot of time with it to get it to work. And the thing that really irks me is that saw comes with an adapter to use plain end blades. And not one person doing a review mentions anything about that. Because not one person doing the reviews used the saws. And, you know, I'm like, oh, who is this? And then I look and all they do is try to sell products to people on TikTok. You know, one day it's a scroll saw, the next day it's whatever. A shoehorn. And it's made by Weaver, so you know it's got to be good. I guess I'm old and grumpy, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I'm that big enough yet. You know, when I did the review for the buck tool saw, the one that's right here. So yeah, you know, contacted me, they sent me the saw, and before they sent it, I'm like, I'll do an honest review, but I'm not gonna lie about anything. I'm not gonna say if it's not good, I'm not gonna do that. So yeah, I did a review for that saw, and then they didn't have it in stock for 3 months. So I think what happened was they ordered them. When they contacted me, they're like, they're on a ship. You can either buy one that's in stock, or you can wait until the new shipment comes in. They did some tweaking. They changed them a little bit for the new ones. And I'm like, okay, I'll just get the one that they have in stock right now. And that's when Trump started going crazy with the tariffs. So, you know, when you have 100% tariff one week and 50% the next week, you know, what are you going to do? So I assumed that the shipment came and then it sat in a bonded warehouse until very recently. They've been back in stock for like 2 weeks now. So they waited till the Supreme Court knocked all that shit down. Because, yeah, you can't pay 100%, you know, and then sell it at a reasonable price. No, not at all. Yeah, normally I don't do that. And it was just a very, I don't know, sucky situation all the way around. But they are back in stock. But, you know, with review videos, you know, people aren't going to watch a review that's 4 months old. You know, they're going to, you know, the algorithm wants to give you something new. So I was supposed to be getting commission if people use the link in the description, but it's been so long that That's just not going to happen. And I'm not upset about it. It's just the way it goes, you know? Would I do another review for a tool situation if it came away? Yeah, I absolutely would. As long as it's something that I would use, absolutely. Give me 1 minute. Project Farm, right? Hey CD, welcome in. You know, my big thing, if I'm, I do some reviews. A lot of times I buy this stuff myself. But yeah, I'm not gonna BS. That's not me. And honestly, I would work with Buck Tool again. I mean, it's not their fault. I mean, and then they got, they didn't get any Christmas orders because of the tariffs. Now, that being said, my extractor, my little extractor, is a Buck Tool product, and I was really impressed with the quality of it for the price. Yeah. Somehow I don't think Festool would be interested in what I do. But here's something funny. Let me grab my phone. Why was my phone off? Is it dead? What are you doing? Hey, honey, is your phone working? Maybe she's got headphones on. Well, I could pull it up on the monitor as well. Maybe I upgraded. Maybe it's updating. So let's just do it this way. So if you go to harborfreight.com and go to their scroll saw, yeah, it might be dead. So if you scroll down here to the customer video, look, it's me with my world famous piece of tape across the logo on this shirt. That's back when I had a big beard that people made fun of. Yeah. So I think Harbor Freight may be aware of me. Which is weird because they put a video of the 3-month review or 6-month, 8-month, whatever the review time was on that. Which I really didn't go over any of the features. I was basically just saying, it's a good saw. I wasn't able to break it. Sorry. I mean, the original review video was very long, but it went over everything. All right, I gotta plug my phone in. Dang nabbit. It's been one of them days. All right, guys, sorry about that. Right? Man, I tried my darndest. I treated it like a redheaded stepchild. I do produce redheaded children. So. Oh, that's nice. Better to find it before it's in the fields. Okay, that's got a lot of vibration in it. So unfortunately that is going in the fireplace. So we'll save this little piece here, and we'll make a small shaft out of that. So I'm starting to get to the bottom of this bin here. So the quality is going down the toilet. This one is bad too. So if you're just joining us, this one's not great either. We are attempting to make some shafts. So it's like NASCAR. You don't watch it to watch cars drive around in circles. You want to see it crash and burn. Can we have 3 bad ones in a row? Let's find out. That won't work. Them plugs in the video, are they a bought item or did you DIY them? I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. Earplugs? Oh, yeah, I just bought those. Yeah. On my main saw, I have a very nice set of nice Deadman switch that was actually an Excalibur switch, and then all the rest of them are all like from Harbor Freight. They're like $15 a piece. They usually last a couple of years. We are making Turkish spindle shafts. And these guys are used to spin yarn. So we're making these little doodads. So how Chris, how you doing? So yeah, this is spindle work. It's just ironic that the spindle work is making spindles. So if you were making like a wooden pen, that would be spindle work. If you were making a baseball bat, that would be spindle work. If you were making spindles for a banister, for a staircase, well, that would still be spindle work. So I have a piece of chicken wire that I leave in there so when if I drop sandpaper, it doesn't go all the way through, it'll get caught in there. So this lathe is a Laguna Revo 1216. So this is their midi size lathe. So as far as woodworking lathes go, it goes pen lathe, midi size lathe, full size lathe. So this is just a smaller lathe. So this little guy, it does have pulse wave modulation on it, which gives it the ability to be torquey at very low speeds. So the lathe itself knows what speed it should be running at, and it maintains that speed. I'll try my best not to hurt myself. Have a great night, Greg. 2:30 in the afternoon here, so fortunately I can't go to bed quite yet. Yep, I'm going to stream for another 20 minutes, and then I'm going to let you guys go. I have to make some lunch. I think I'm going to make some fried rice for lunch. Does sound good. So before we came to work, we stopped at a Quick Trip. We stopped at a gas station and got milk and eggs. So I could steal a couple eggs and make some fried rice. So at home we buy jasmine rice and we make it in the Instant Pot. So, but at work we have minute rice, which isn't as good, but I can microwave it. But yeah, we should be able to get a few more done in 20 minutes. So now I'm just burnishing with some wood chips, and we'll add some wax. So we were just finishing up these arms on the stream. So checking the durability by throwing it on the floor. And it passed. How that works. Yeah, the reason I'm making lunch at 3 o'clock is because I didn't get out of bed till like 10. Hello, welcome in. Is that Cyrillic? Where are you from, my friend? Alright, so this is actually Vera wood. A lot of times the Vera wood will have more green in it than this. There's some green there. Very heavy wood. So Vera wood is also known as Argentinian ligamvente. It's not actually related to ligamvente, but it does have similar properties. Ligamvente itself is endangered and you can't get it anymore. So they would use ligamvente on big sailing ships. They would use them as bushings. So they would sit underwater and they wouldn't rot. So much like the England's museums. These trees got decimated. So this is just a piece of picture frame hanging wire. I just put a couple handles on it, so I made a garrote, just so we got something to hang on to. A lot of people use guitar strings. I just have a lot of this wire. So we'll finish this one up and then we'll go check on the 3D printers. I'm trying to use up all the little pieces of wax I have in here that dried out. Yeah, so this is just a tin. So when it's not in use, I can close it. Then that just sits on there. Simple. On occasion, people will tell me that they're a little disappointed that I've got laser engravers, 3D printers, I've got a CNC machine, plus all the handwork I do. I could make very nice signage, and I just use a Sharpie and just scribble. But, you know, that falls into the cobbler's son has no clothes. I have great plans, and I will make things as a test to see how they'll work. And if they work, I never get around to refining it and making it look better because it works. So. It might look like Homer Simpson's trophy rack, but it'll work. Oh, yeah, 3D printers. So, I'm glad I didn't drill, because he's drilling. Yeah, it's done. So we'll take these little sheep off. So these older printers, they'll pretty typically leave a little extra filament when they stop, so we'll just take a torch and just melt that little bit. So these little sheep I give away at shows. We make earrings and stitch markers out of them as well. So the older printers, I will print a skirt. That's what these little rings are. And that's because I'm making sure that the filament is primed to make sure it's ready to flow. If it's not, it can mess up the first layer. So, you know, same thing. Goes around the outside a couple times. Really, this has no filament detection at all. This one does have filament detection, so when it runs out, it'll stop. But it doesn't know if it's actually squirting out filament. So. This is a Bamboo Lab A1 Mini, a much smarter printer, much faster as well. So we're making nitty knotties, which are used to wrap yarn around. There's two identical pieces that slide together. That's what that's for. And then the X1 carbons, we have some Dragons printing. So we're using dichromatic filament. So one side's one color, and then the other side's another color, so it gives you kind of an orange and gold look to it. Oh, yeah. So Vicky is drilling center holes. So this is the zebra wood that we were cutting earlier this morning. This stuff is very hard. Decisions were made. I look over and she's got 4 boards already drilled waiting to get cut out. Which is good. Because what I typically do when we're doing batch work like this, I will make shafts until my legs get tired. When I was younger, I could stand in one spot all day, not a big deal. Now that I'm in my 50s, you know, work an hour over here, go sit down for an hour. Pretty much ideal. I am standing on some anti-fatigue mats, but they're better than nothing, but they're not great, you know. I do prefer the solid foam ones. I'm not a big fan of the harder plastic ones that have all the holes in. Those are typically more for, you know, dishwashing rooms, that kind of thing. There's a lot of water, but Alright, I think we can get one more made yet. Nice. So I do not mind production work. I know it's not made for everybody. I am very neurodivergent, so I kind of strive on this kind of stuff. I'm just gleaming the cube. Was that a Christian Slater reference? Yes, yes it was. Alright, so wood's a natural material, obviously. And this one is not going to work. So on the outside, you couldn't see anything. It looked fine. So on the inside here, we've got a little hole here, so luckily there was no bugs in it. Little known fact, bugs live in trees. You know, this is kiln dried, so you're not going to find a living bug. Once in a while you find something. Not very often. unless you harvest your own wood. So yeah, having like bark inclusions, it happens. Alright guys, we'll finish this one up, but I'd like to thank you guys for hanging out with me. We'll make it a 7. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. We did get a bunch of stuff made in the last 3 hours, so that's good. But I am definitely ready to make some lunch and take a little break. I mean, now that Pam Bondi is looking for a job, if she wants to make spindles, she's more than welcome to. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't hire her. I think she's probably going to end up making license plates in a few years. All right, guys, thank you so much. We'll catch you next time. If you like the stream, I don't really have a set schedule right now. So if you want to catch me, the easiest thing to do would be to subscribe and then ring the bell. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. So. All right, guys, have a good one, and we'll catch you next time. And be nice to people. It doesn't cost you anything.